Hey guys, welcome back to Lexi's World Gaming, and I'm back with another video. And as you can see, this time I'm on a different channel called My Story Animated, and I'm watching. I'm watching this again because obviously you guys love these videos. And my last video, I got 71 views as for right now. So let's get to it. But first, let me just. If I hear noise in the background, let me just shut my door real quick. Oh, wait, that was a big sigh. Okay, guys, so I'm back. So let's actually begin this video. So
I was in the first grade
when
everyone first realized I was a genius.
Yep, you better be.
I fell asleep
And how
in class
come they
one day because
realize?
I was so bored and I'd already finished my work. When my teacher saw me snoring away and drooling all over my books, all hell broke loose. She
I don't even know why they're using the H word.
woke me up and yelled at me. But when she saw I was done with my work again, she went broke loose.
Well, the only reason why they can use the word hell is because the only time you can use the word hell is because if the devil's place.
Me up and yelled at me.
That's what the people say.
But when she saw I was done with my work again, she went to talk to the principal. Well, my parents were called in. I was terrified. Mom was going to kill me. As soon as she came, I rushed over to her. I had to convince her I was innocent before the principal could butt in. Mom! I started, but she glared at me like she always did when I started stuttering, which, with her, was all the time. I braced myself for the worst. We were told I was being bumped up a grade as I wasn't being challenged enough. What was going on? Was this some new form of punishment? My parents, though, were over the moon. They couldn't stop bragging about what an Einstein I was for skipping a grade, even though we were poor. They said my being genius more than made up for it. I felt secretly confused, but also so proud that I never bothered asking them what they meant. Either way, I loved how they were practically worshiping me now. For the first time in years, they didn't even make fun of my stutter. Life was great. But then they decided I needed to be smarter. Suddenly, Mom and Dad started taking way too much interest in my classwork. They were always at home and always on my back. Asked me to go over everything that I learned. Why did I need to do extra work at home? Then there were all these link juices I was suddenly drinking. Could my parents not waste money on all this stupid stuff and just take me to McDonald's instead? In the third grade, I got an A- on a test, and my mom thought that something was wrong with me. She took me to a doctor. The doctor suggested that I needed to drink more juice every day. I missed drinking milk. I spent every night crying in my room. Why couldn't I just have a normal life like other kids?
But
to make matters worse, suddenly I wasn't allowed to watch TV or even hang out with friends.
Oh my
One
God,
day, when my very best friend Brittany came over, Mom took away our toys and said, "Play chess. All the smart kids do." Brittany looked so shocked. I thought she'd cry, but it got so much worse. When Mom saw she couldn't get the hang of chess, she turned to Brittany and said, "You're the dumbest kid I've ever seen. Your parents are probably so disappointed in you."
Oh my God, you shouldn't talk like that. Why is her face like an egg?
And that broke my heart. By the time I was in fourth grade, I had a sad realization.
Fourth grade? I'm
in fourth grade. It wasn't cool
to
be a genius, especially one who stutters. Every time I raised my hand to answer the teacher, I heard laughter behind me. And when I turned around, two girls were imitating me. Then to make matters worse, someone called me Baby Genius, and that stupid name just stuck. 6 months later, I skipped another grade and walked right into the most embarrassing situation. My parents had signed me up for the science fair. I did this whole thing on the solar system when I realized my booth was right next to the cutest guy in the world. I smiled at him, and then suddenly started to feel
matching
woozy,
eyes,
like I had no energy. Before I knew what was happening, I fell. Literally just fell for no reason, and straight onto my science project. As if that wasn't bad enough, I took the cute guy's project down with me. My little styrofoam planets rolled over to his feet. He and my parents looked like they wanted to murder me. He walked over to where I had fallen and gave me a swift kick.
Oh my God,
to cry.
You can't do that.
No one helped me up.
I'm
Though
sorry.
Mom and Dad just looked uber pissed. That wasn't the end of that humiliating experience.
God.
The next day at school, Mr. Cute but Pretty Mean, whose project I had ruined, was busy reenacting my fall for all his friends. I tried to run past them in the corridor,
they're so
but I bumped into someone and all my books fell to the floor.
What
a loser! I thought you only talk slow. Why do you keep bumping into everything? He called out. His friends laughed. I ran out of there, feeling crushed. I felt like the most unloved person on the planet. Just because I was smart and I had a speech problem, I couldn't help those things. Just because I'm different doesn't mean I don't have feelings. I felt so lonely and unhappy. No one liked me or understood me. Not my parents or anyone at school.
Oh my
I'd
god.
had enough, and I just needed a break from everything.
I
decided
feel bad
I was
for her.
going to skip school the next morning and spend the day in the public library. I could use the
Yeah.
peace and finally read something fun. Mom didn't want to see a book in my hands unless it was related to my studies. I skipped back home, my head still half dizzy with excitement
my
over the mystery
God.
novel I'd read that day. My bubble of happiness burst the minute I saw my parents standing at the front door. If looks could kill, I'd be lying dead in my driveway from the glances I was getting from them. The school had called them and told them I hadn't shown up today. Where were you all day? I was just at the library, Mom. I was actually studying. Half truth, half lie. Better than being a complete liar. What were you studying when all your books were at home? She yelled. Were you out with some boy? That's why you're lying, isn't it? I just stared at her.
My God,
Yeah,
no
Mom.
one could
Boys
do it
love me with my thick glasses and my stutter. I wanted to say. I started crying, but it didn't melt her heart one bit. She shouted at me that if I felt things were so easy, I should skip classes. Maybe she talked to the principal about bumping me up again, and she would put me in extra afternoon classes. Never too late to start preparing for SATs. I did get bumped another grade, and then another. Really? In those 2 years, I got bumped up 4 grades. By the time I was 12, I was a high school sophomore. That time in my life was such a blur. All I remember was studying and doing schoolwork. I probably only had the energy to keep up with all my work because Mom was a health nut and kept giving me lots of multivitamins. I was definitely at the top of my class, but no one even talked to me. I could hear them whispering about me.
I feel bad for
calling me
her,
a
but she
freak.
really
No
is
one wanted to sit next to
smart.
me. Until someone did one day,
Right,
and
stop
everything
keep doing
changed.
that, or else
It was
you
after
guys
math
won't go to
class.
college.
I was sitting by myself in the library. Suddenly, this guy
Yeah,
with
and this
dirty
video
blonde
is
hair and the bluest eyes
called
I'd ever seen
My Parents
came up
Made
to
Me Go
Then
to
he
College
introduced
at
himself.
the
Hi,
age
I'm
at
Jason.
13.
Are you the brainiac
my
everyone
God.
is always talking about? I could feel
Well,
my
that
face
was rude.
burning. That was
That was
all I
really
was ever known
rude.
for. And he had just come
Oh
to
my
see the freak.
gosh.
Yes, I'm Allie, I managed to say, feeling my stutter was even worse than usual. Here comes the laughter.
Oh my
But to my
God.
surprise, he didn't even act like it was anything unusual. He just smiled and said he was in the 9th grade
Oh
and
my
that he
God.
really needed my help with math. That day after school,
Wow.
Jason came over. But as we were talking, my dad burst into my room saying that I couldn't close the door with a boy over. I was horrified. We were only studying. After Jason left, my parents yelled that I wasn't allowed to have boys over. I explained that it would look good on my college application to tutor someone. Hearing this, they agreed to let me tutor him.
Yeah, really.
Lying to them was the only way I would be able to hang out with Jason. I continued to tutor Jason for the following year. At school, we hung out whenever we could. Not once did he ever make fun of my stutter. He was the sweetest, and hanging out with him was exciting. One day,
wish I
he
had it
asked if
like
I could
that.
come to his house. It was so tough convincing my parents because they said I should focus on my SATs.
Oh my God.
When I went to his house that evening, Jason took my hand and led me down the street. We're going to the
Wow,
movies,
cinema.
he exclaimed. You deserve to have fun. I was so excited. I had never been to the movies before.
Wait, how did she just
as
get
Mom and
out
Dad
of the
never
cinema
had
stuff?
enough money. After the movie, Jason suggested that we get dinner. But all of a sudden,
Oh,
I began to shake.
that's kind.
I was feeling woozy. Jason asked what was wrong, as if I knew. My parents always said it was just stress, and there was no need to go to the doctor.
Oh my
He offered
God.
to walk me home. When we were about a block away from home, he stopped me and looked into my eyes. I really like you,
Oh.
Allie. Would you go out with me? OMG, yes! I nodded excitedly. And he
You're
leaned
not
my
I
first kiss. It was
Oh
so
my
incredible. I felt an entirely
Oh my
different kind of
God.
woozy, in a good way. But my bubble of happiness
Aw.
burst as soon as I stepped inside my house. my
Once
parents were pissed
again.
at something and started yelling. I had left my books at
Oh.
home. Whoops. I caved and admitted that I had just gone out with him for fun. You are not to see him again. He's a bad influence.
Why is he a
My dad
cunt?
wagged his finger in the air. Especially now you're so
Oh
close to
my
college.
God.
All these years of our hard work. Think of all the
Jeez.
money we spent on you. Mom added
Yeah, oh
desperately.
wait, I thought you
rolled
didn't
my
have
eyes.
money.
I continued to see Jason at school and
But
even
you need
began
to
to skip
take it down
classes
a
so
notch.
that I could
It's
spend
not
time
how
with him.
parents should
He actually
act.
seemed to care about my feelings,
Oh.
something my crazy parents didn't give a damn about. But one day, we got caught. We were kissing goodbye outside the school when my mom's car screeched over to us. She literally dragged me home. No wonder you didn't get
I
an A
hate
plus
when
on your
parents
English
drag
exam.
them
Boy
by
is making you
ears.
dumb like
Those
him.
really hurt.
If you keep seeing him, you'll
Oh
ruin
my
us.
God.
They yelled at me.
Oh
I
my
gasped.
God.
It was true that I had gotten an A minus for the first time in my life. Maybe Jason was making me dumber. The next day, I marched up to him in school and said, We're over.
Oh my God.
I can't spend time with the dumbbell like you anymore.
Oh
You're
my God.
going to make me too. He looked so
Oh
confused
my
and hurt,
God.
but I wasn't going to
I
be
feel
weak,
bad.
especially if he was making me dumb. I had to think about myself and my grades. He didn't talk to me again. A few
Oh my
months after
God.
that, I
How
applied
does
for
she
college at my
treat it
parents'
like
assistance.
that?
When
Oh
I
my
was filling out the
God.
application, I noticed another piece of paper that said, Gifted Student Scholarship. But my
Oh.
mom snatched it away quickly. That's nothing important, she said. I shrugged and continued filling out my application. Next thing I knew,
Oh my
I actually
God.
got into college. Who needed friends or a boyfriend when you were as smart as me? But college turned out to be very unexpected. The very first day, I felt like a lost lamb. In my first class,
Oh
the
my
professor saw me
God.
in the front row and asked if I'd lost my way. Everyone laughed, and I felt so embarrassed.
Wow.
I tried to explain that I was a genius,
So.
but I felt so nervous I blurted, I'm a genie! Everyone roared with laughter, and the
Oh my
professor looked as
God.
though he enjoyed how nervous I was.
Sorry.
I ran home crying that day only to find out
I'm
that my
so
parents weren't
sorry.
home. I looked around everywhere. Their rooms were a
Oh,
mess and
I
everything
feel
was
so
thrown
bad
about.
for
I
her.
checked their closets and realized their clothes were gone. I
Did
tried
this?
calling them on their phones.
Oh my
No
God.
luck.
They
What
probably
was going on?
all went
I
into
began to
hiding.
panic. I had the strangest thirst.
Oh
I stumbled over to
God.
the fridge and grabbed a bottle of juice.
Wow.
Immediately, I felt better. I knew what would fix me, a multivitamin. Then
Oh
I
my
began trying to
God.
call my parents again, wondering if there was any clue as to where they went. I searched the papers scattered all over the
Jeez.
floor and saw an envelope addressed to me. I picked it up. It was the same letter my mom had snatched from me, the one that read, Scholarship for Gifted Students. I skimmed through it and realized I had apparently been given $100,000 as a stipend to cover the cost of college.
Oh
Why
my
hadn't Mom and Dad
God.
told me? They were
Yeah, of
always
course.
complaining about being short
Why?
of money. This was great. But where were they? I tried calling my
They
aunt who lived
stole
out of
it
town
with the
and even
money.
checked with the neighbors. No one had any idea.
Oh
The
my
next
God,
day,
they're
I
so
skipped college and was
cool.
still asking around for my parents when I came home to a for sale sign on the door. What? I ran inside and saw some strangers knocking down a
Oh my
wall.
God.
Just what do you think you guys are doing in my house? I
Oh
yelled at
my
them. They
God.
looked at me and said, Your house, kid? The last owners moved out today. They never mentioned having a kid. What?
Oh my
I demanded to
God.
know where they were. They shrugged and said they'd not seen my parents
Okay.
since last week.
I'm gonna have to end it right here, guys. I'm gonna pick up a part 2 since we only have a little bit
That's when
left
they
to
had
watch.
said they were leaving.
Well, bye, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe. Bye.